Choose life. Choose a sport. Choose a drop zone. Choose a start time. Choose a fucking big jump plane. Choose turbine engines, speed, unlimited altitude, and endless horizons. Choose height, no low turns, and travel insurance. Choose jump tickets. Choose tiny action cameras. Choose your mates. Choose a rig and matching helmet. Choose swoop shorts and a range of fucking fabrics. Choose 120 vertical speed and wondering who the fuck you are on a Sunday morning. Choose sitting on that couch, watching debriefs, spirit-saving slow-mos, smashing beers after last load. Choose standing on the podium at the end of it all. Choose a win you'll love every time. And the reasons? There are no reasons. Who needs reasons when you fly NZ Aerosports?
Of course, I absolutely love the NZ Aerosports business model. I mean, come on. One glance at an Icarus fuck yeah sticker and you know it lines up perfectly with the fucking pilot mentality. But outside their wonderful use of colorful language and a great company vibe, there's a long list of reasons to say NZ Aerosports, fuck yeah. NZ Aerosports blows me away right out of the gate as a canopy manufacturer with a bold offer. They give you 10 jumps on your brand new nylon to decide if you want to keep it, swap it out, or even return it for a refund. I mean, seriously, how incredible is that? That's like getting halfway through a prom and deciding you prefer the slightly racier date that goes down faster. Seriously, they do that. If you're not madly in love with your new canopy after 10 jumps, they'll let you swap it out for another size or model, or even get your money back. And the range of canopies they've got? Man, they've got a style canopy to fit every jumper and every situation with models you know and trust, like the Sapphire 3, the perfect choice for the beginner or intermediate canopy pilot. The Crossfire 3, when you're ready to kick it up that elliptical notch. The JFX 2, if you're looking to up your new swoop game. The Leia as the workhorse and dirtwater dirt beast, or the Petra. The Petra cranks out crazy power and is nothing short of a record breaker. But hey, it's not always about speed either. Take the Kraken. Built as a low pack volume canopy specifically with wingsuiting in mind, she gives you all the performance you're looking for with the reliability you need that'll have you itching for that next formation, rodeo, or puffy cloud. So the equipment is top of the line kick-ass stuff as you already know, but how about the team? Well, the customer service gang is there to sort you out whenever you need them. Maddie and Beto are always there to help with Jen holding the reins. They're available for you at sales@nzaerosports.com, and they've got a kick-ass live chat tool on the website if you're wanting to hit someone up right away. These are the crew you're going to want to talk to get those custom orders in. With the stock nylon, once you know what you want, they'll have that shit on a FedEx truck as soon as the credit card machine says approved and get you in the air in no time. For your custom orders, you'll be able to get a time frame for building and shipping when you design it, so get to it. And demos. They've got demos in the US available from their partner Rock Sky Market. The whole US demo fleet is there with Sapphire 3, Crossfire 3, Kraken, JFX2, and Leia canopies in a range of sizes. They also offer student and tandem demos in the US. Bottom line, every step of the way, NZ Aerosports is there to get you what you need, and I personally couldn't be happier to be teamed up with them here on Lunatic Fringe. And now, time to get started with Lunatic Fringe Into the Void, brought to you proudly by NZ Aerosports. Fuck yeah!
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go! All right, back in the can for another edition of Lunatic Fringe Into the Void with an awesome repeat guest. Let's just dive right into it. Who the fuck are you? What do you do?
Yeah, I'm Brian Germain.
Yes, you are.
And I jump out of airplanes.
You do. I'd say you do a little bit more than just jump out of airplanes. You've been at this shit for a little while now.
35 years.
35 years. Man, I just hit my 25-year mark, and I still am shaking my head all the time going, how in the hell did I spend a quarter of a century doing this? And you're 10 years ahead of me.
Yeah. Well, a long time ago, I decided that I didn't want to get a real job.
Right.
And so that journey has gone in many different directions.
It is funny how just the drive to not have that normal, so-called normal stuff going on is it's an amazing thing. The way it pushes you in so many wonderful directions.
Totally, I know. I've had to do things that I never imagined myself doing.
Right.
With the laser table that I had to break down and put back together. I can't even count how many times all alone, that's not my thing,
right.
But I wanted to make parachutes.
Right.
right? Sewing, I mean, that was like, oh, that's for girls.
Yeah.
No, actually, I sew better than your grandma.
I mean, I had the same opinion when it came to rigging and stuff like that. I grew up, mom did the sewing, dad didn't touch fucking needle and thread, and certainly not a machine. And then I got into a sport where the most badass people doing all the real rigging work were not just men, women as well. But you're like, wait a second, but this big butch guy that's jumping out of airplanes all day long is spending his evenings picking stitches and sewing.
Oh yeah, and in a very sort of structured anal way, right?
Oh yeah.
So, like, if you ever, I don't know if you've ever been to the Pittsburgh area to Moe Viletto's loft.
Oh, I've heard stories.
That it was so organized. It was so perfect. He knew where everything was, and it was totally clean. I don't know how do you keep a loft clean?
Right.
But he managed it.
Well,
he managed it.
And I'll tell you what, it's funny because now, of course, being in the sport as long as I have been, I've got many, many friends that have these ridiculous collections of sewing machines. Something I never thought about at all, let alone the fact that I'd have like a dozen friends that have 5 or 6 or 10 or 15 sewing machines. And when I talked to Mo, he was telling me about he was looking for a home, not for himself, because he was happy to live in his car. He was looking for a home for his sewing machines.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, what?
It's true.
What?
Yeah. Well, they're not small. That's the trouble. I wish I collected marbles or something. But
right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, you started designing and building your own parachutes, so it's kind of an important piece of equipment to have.
Yeah, you got to have the right ones too, and they're not cheap, but it's worth it, because for me, to jump is one thing. It's great fun. I love it. But the creative aspect of having a brainchild that you scribble on a napkin at a restaurant, and you just kind of draw it out. You go, yeah, maybe that'll work, and then you figure it out in the CAD, and then you build some miniatures, maybe miniature canopies, and you fly it as a kite, and before you know, you're hanging under it. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah. Oh, very much so. Probably a little bit intimidating, which is one of the reasons I've never tried to design and build my own parachute. I'll leave that to you guys.
I'm going to send you some prototypes.
Oof, yeah, no, I don't. I think I'm past my test jumping days. Those are a little bit behind me now. I'm just fine with that.
Yeah. It does get scary once in a while, particularly when you got instability issues or you get opening issues. I mean, I've had some of them that I was sure that it was right. I was, this idea was so pure and so, just I knew it was going to be better. Right. And I was dead wrong.
See, that's where, I mean, and it's going to happen so fast, especially with the stuff that you were designing, that you don't even have time to be pissed because it's instantly holy shit.
Yeah, I'll be pissed later. Right now, I got to save my own life. Yeah, Zephyrhills, Florida. I had a 81 square foot prototype where I tried a mod that was designed to increase the rear riser performance. So like I had an extra brake line that went from the rear riser connector link to the cascade point on the brakes. And it seemed like a good idea. It worked all right. And then I was like, well, yeah, but what if I modify the brakes? And what if I shorten them a little bit so that when I pull in the rears, I pull in the tail?
Right.
Just a little bit. And man, when I pulled in the fronts, though, in that configuration, it was so light on the fronts I could do it with 2 fingers. I mean, you think, a katana's light. This was insanely light. And so I'm kind of playing around with it. Like, well, I'm the test pilot. I got to figure out, before I get below 2, is this sucker safe? It just didn't feel safe.
Right.
And so I'm kind of wailing on the fronts. And then I had the fronts, like, imagine like you're in double fronts in free fall, belly to earth, with your slinks on your nipples.
Oh, fuck.
Right. And I'm looking at this wing, and it's like partly below me, and I'm looking at the wing, and the wing's looking at me. And she kind of winks her eye at me. I was like, I wonder if I kind of yank on the fronts with a little sharp tug, what's going to happen?
Right.
And it inverted so fast and flew at me, whacked me, went into a bunch of line twists and a frontal fortune cookie. And I just spinning like crazy. And I ended up, obviously, chopping it within a very short period of time.
Sure.
But yeah, it can go badly really quickly.
Yeah.
And you can't.
I
There's
mean,
nobody to blame but me.
you took things in directions that you didn't expect. So did I as well. You kind of went into the extreme version. For me, I ended up deciding I wanted to be a pilot. Yet for me, I have to take my shoes off to count to 20 smoothly. I'm horrible at math. So everything involved in becoming an airline transport pilot, when it came to the math aspect of it, just hurt. But it didn't physically hurt me. But the shit you were doing. I mean, come on.
Well, you do what you got to do. You know, you have a dream, whatever it is, and you'll walk through the mud to get there.
Oh,
You know what I mean? You'll climb over the fences and you'll do what you have to do. And I think that's where our imagination for what could be pushes us to grow, to expand, to,
Indeed.
Do the things that are necessary.
Well, and it also, when you have to do those things and you have to continue to push on, whether, again, for me, it was math and you, all the sewing and designing and all that stuff, when you have been doing it long enough and you look back going, oh, I actually learned how to do that. I'm competent at this. Like, I actually know what the fuck is going on. It's a pretty cool feeling.
It is. Absolutely. Yeah. To be earned competence, where you worked hard, where it wasn't necessarily your easiest suit, right? So like my guitar teacher, Eddie Thompson, I remember from I was probably about 12 or 13. I was like, dude, the F chord sucks for me. I hate the F chord. I don't want to play the F chord. Teach me songs with no F chord, And he was like, you don't get it, Bri. Here's the deal. You got to make F your best chord. And I've lived by that.
Sure. It makes sense. You make the hardest one, just the thing you're absolutely best at, and everything else just kind of falls in.
Yeah. But you got to leverage what you suck at in order to be better.
Sure.
Right? Because always there's that lead in the balloon. That's the area that you've been avoiding because you suck at it, because you want to do what you're good at.
Sure.
Because it makes you feel good.
Sure. Well, and then there's always the what is the phrase? Fake it till you make it, which.
Yep.
I do believe too about in some degree, although in skydiving you don't want to fake too much.
Yeah.
You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself.
Wingsuit.
Yeah.
You don't want to put on the big wingsuit just to look like a big boy.
Exactly.
I did that. I mean, granted, I had a lot of wingsuit jumps, but I just sort of little by little creeping up in size. And Tony was like, "Oh, that suit right there, you're gonna love that." I was like, "Tony, that's a really big suit." It was his biggest one. I was like, but he was like, you're a free flower, man. You'll be all right. And that, I did 10 jumps on it before it tried to kill me.
Oh, man.
I'm an inverted flat spin over Finland in the clouds, completely confused, 6,600 foot exit. It just, the prop blast from a no cut exit on a caravan just sent me spinning. And, I suddenly realized how close I was to the edge all that time.
Wow.
You know what I mean? That I felt fine. I built the confidence up, and it was sort of unearned confidence.
Sure. Sure.
Because there's no backfly events on this thing, and it's bigger than I can handle. I didn't have that much of a plan.
Sure. Well, there've been a few times I found myself in the corner and you're like, oh shit. Okay. I have to perform now. I've put myself in a position where there's only one thing that I can possibly do, and that's succeed at what I have to.
Right.
And granted, those are the experiences that you look back on and they kind of mold you as you move forward. The almost completely fucked ones are the ones that you remember the most. But it would be nice if we didn't put ourselves in those situations quite as often as we do.
It would be great, wouldn't it? But it doesn't work that way.
No.
Because we don't know what we don't know. We want to build, a certain level of confidence is what gets you out of the door. It gets you to the point where you're the only pilot type in the plane, and it's up to you.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what happens, it's up to you, and you don't know everything.
Yeah,
no matter how good you are, you don't know nobody knows everything.
Indeed. Well, and I remember one flight in particular. I had just started flying the Twin Otter, and I got lucky as lucky can get when it came to flying a Twin Otter. I went from a PAC 750 with a decent amount of turbine time, but had to get my multi-engine rating to take the job. When I soloed for the first time and was flying loads by myself in the Otter, I had about 30 hours multi-time, which is insane. Way insane.
Yeah.
And I think it was the first week, maybe the second at the most, where I had to fly a demo halfway to Chicago, and the last person gets out, and I've got to fly back to Hinckley at the time, and it dawns on me, fuck, I'm by myself in a Twin Otter.
Yeah.
This is It's on me. Okay,
Yeah,
I guess I better put my big boy pants on and make sure I'm taking care of this.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I love that because the human being is an adaptable critter.
Sure.
We're capable as long as we can sort of calm down enough that our brain still works.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? But that's the greatest training skydiving ever gave me was the ability to be freaking out somewhere back there while I deal with this shit in a sane
Yep.
way, and then I get to freak
Yep.
out when I'm on the ground and the engines are shut down.
Exactly. Yeah, cry in the shower, but not now.
Yeah, man. And that's a big thing. And it's funny because I've found that that's creeped into my life in so many different ways, well outside of anything that you would consider extreme or dangerous sports, but almost in every facet, you learn to put that freak out away, which is amazing.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. Yeah, you take the deep breath and then you reach out with your mind towards, what could I do to make this situation better?
Yeah.
Where is that landing area? Can't find the landing area.
Right.
Don't know where it is. Let's do a slow turn because they always say it's probably behind me if I can't see it. All right, slow turn. Wait a minute, it's not there either. All right. Maybe then there's that cognitive dissonance of like, okay, but normally there's a landing area and now there isn't, and I keep looking for it. And at some point when I move into acceptance that I'm not going to find it. And now I have to find a lovely place to land. And I have to believe that there is a lovely place to land, which is not something that I don't know. At the beginning, do they really teach enough about how to find a place to land? How to select this field over that one, given this wind line, right? It's very little because they're rolling the dice that you're going to land in the drop zone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's funny, too, because especially when it comes to skydiving, you have to make all those, you have to get through those stages really quick because skydiving comes at you pretty fast. I mean, it comes at you slow when you're used to it and nothing's going wrong, but as soon as shit starts going wrong, it starts moving pretty quick. So,
and the universe is very creative in finding ways to freak you out and put you out of your depths. And then you got to bring it. You got to dig a little bit deeper into your imagination of how it's going to go well.
Absolutely.
How this is going to be a story where you go, wow, I thought I was totally screwed, and I managed it.
Yeah,
I managed the situation. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's you obviously want to go out and have the experiences, but you also want to be able to still be around to tell the stories afterwards.
Yeah,
So
that's kind of the objective.
Yeah. Now, speaking of stories, this particular podcast came about because shortly after the one and only Moe Viletto passed on, he was supposed to be doing. Oh, dude. I can't say that I knew the guy. I got to know the guy via the podcast and a bunch of emails and stuff like that, and he just struck me as this amazing human being, which has been echoed from all corners. And he was going to do story time for me, and he was going to give me a 20-minute story for every episode. He loved telling stories, as everybody knows. And he was super stoked about being able to do this story time. And of course, he passed on before he got to do any of those, so I got to thinking, all right, let's do story time for Moe. And I want people like you that have got the experience in the stories to just shut me up and take over and tell me some stories, man. I want to hear about the shit that sticks out in Brian Germain's mind.
There's a lot of them. I've been trying to jot down a couple. I was like, wow, how am I going to narrow this down? But I was thinking I could start off with a Moe Viletto story.
Please.
Right. So I'm in Moe's spotless loft. It's like imagine like an OR. Just everything's organized.
Right.
And I said, Moe, I got a problem. The hook knife on my rig is on my leg strap, and that's not doing me any good when I'm wingsuit flying. I put on the dress and I don't have a hook knife. And so, I said, can you give me a snap? Put a snap on my mud flap. He's like, sure. But Brian, I got a way to do this that you're gonna love it. And so he pulls out some fabric and he starts sewing this little pouch together with stiffeners in it. And I'm looking at these stiffeners. It's like, what is it? It's X-ray film. And he had all this X-ray film, like just in this filed away spot. It was all there, tons of them. And I said, Moe, where'd you get all that X-ray film? Because that's a perfect stiffener for this hook knife. So it doesn't cut your rig when you're yanking it out of your mud flap.
Right.
It's brilliant design. He said, Brian, I've been base jumping for how long?
Right.
I got some X-rays. However, The one that he put in my rig that still is in my rig today is actually his colonoscopy.
Oh no.
So I have Moe Viletto's ass in my rig.
That's
it's
fucking awesome. That is spectacular. But that fits. That absolutely fits with everything that he and I talked about and all the stories that he told. That's a fucking perfect story to start with, for sure.
Yeah.
Fucking Moe.
What a great guy.
Oh, dude.
He was a thinker.
Yeah.
He was, just sort of always trying to improve the state of the art. And he's got the same exact attitude I've always had, is that yes, what we have is kind of working.
Yeah.
But we're not done. We're not done inventing skydiving. We're not done inventing base jumping and flying and everything else.
Indeed.
Even just, how do you run a drop zone? Don't assume that the way we've been doing all this stuff is perfect.
Sure.
And if you don't assume that, then the mind starts to open up and you go, yeah, well, what if?
Right.
Right.
Well, he was definitely willing to go the what if extra mile. The picture that he sent me of his pink backcountry base rig is the most amazing thing I've ever seen, because he built that base rig so that he could carry his camping supplies and jump with them.
Yep. I saw the rig. It was beautiful.
Astounding.
Yep.
Well, and he made me look at it twice because it wasn't making sense. And he's all, there are the risers right there. And I'm like, holy shit, those are fucking risers. You're right. This is insane.
Yeah. He fit it all together.
Of course.
He fit it all together. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Oh man.
But yeah, so there's a lot of stories about Moe that I don't know, of course,
right.
But I just love to listen to him just ramble on.
Yeah. Oh,
Nothing like it.
I mean, that man should have had his own podcast.
Thankfully, we got a number of them on Skydive Radio.
Yep.
You got some stuff with him.
Yep.
I wish I did some direct ones and just didn't think of it, because there's a lot of people the past couple of years that just decided, I'm pulling the cutaway handle. I'm out. This planet sucks.
Sure. Yeah. It's time.
And then you look back and go, why didn't I freaking, sit down with that guy?
Well, that's why I felt so lucky. I was super bummed when I found out that he passed away, but pretty much the first thought was, I'm so happy I got that time with him.
Totally.
And I'm able to share it with other people, because I've gotten so many messages about how much they enjoyed that podcast. And I just sat there the entire time going, are you fucking kidding me? I think I must have said that a million times.
Yeah.
And knowing that none of the stories that he was saying were full of shit. He was straight up about all of it. He wasn't trying to brag. That's just what he did.
That was his life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Astounding.
Exactly.
Astounding.
Yep.
All right. Well, give me one of your stories.
All right, well, I got a lot of them. It's a tricky one, because I don't know where to start. But I was thinking that a lot of folks these days have never done a naked jump.
True, very true.
A lot. It's like everything's all politically correct, and I think that we need to consider the possibility that naked jumping has some value.
Sure.
You never feel more free than when you're under canopy over town, looking down past your, tiny little junk because it's cold,
right.
Feeling, liberated.
Sure. Sure.
And so we did a lot of naked jumps over the years. Tons. And of course, the first few times, for those that haven't done it before, I recommend breaking off really high, because I've learned, as you will learn, that when you turn and track, and you track and you track and you track and you track, and you're like, all right, I gave it a little extra time, and you look over your shoulder, like, what the hell are you guys still doing here? Because you don't go anywhere. But I had to make one particular rule. I don't make a lot of rules, like hard and fast ones, but no cat grips on naked jumps. No cat. You don't want to see that. You can't unsee that.
Right.
It doesn't matter who it is, male or female. You don't want to see it. It'll scar you for life.
Sure.
This is a safety first minute here. This is like, you got to know this one. The other one is that jumping naked in the winter. We used to do it on the Canadian border.
Oof.
Every year. And yes, it was my idea. I don't know. I was young and stupid.
Fair enough.
I was like, I got an idea, one of those. And everybody jumped on it. I was like, but I was a little kidding.
Right.
And so every year we got sucked into this in Malone, New York, on the Canadian border, upstate New York.
Jesus.
And it's one of those deals that hopefully none of you will ever experience it, but we wrap up in sleeping bags, right? So you're not too cold as you walk into the plane, as you're riding altitude in the 182, just, sort of shivering, you get the heat blasting.
Right.
And you start to warm up enough that you're like, oh yeah, this isn't so bad, and then you're getting close to exit and you got to wrap up the sleeping bags. You got to put them under the seat belts, tighten them down so they don't go fly out the door and crash the airplane. And then the door comes open. And all you can do is scream.
Yeah.
You are physically incapable of not screaming. For about 30 seconds, everybody's just, with the face red and the whole like full on terror face. And then after, 30 seconds or so, you just kind of go numb. You don't really feel anything anymore.
Sure.
You're just like, all right, it's a skydive. And you try not to, think about the fact that the ground is covered with snow and your willy's out in the breeze. And I have a photograph that we actually blew this photograph up to like poster size and gave it to my buddy Ark Lamal, one of the original badasses from Malone. He's on the step of the 182, so you can probably picture this. The snow is everywhere.
Right.
This is December 13th.
Oh, Jesus.
I want to say 1987, 88, something like that. He's on the step. He's hanging on the strap. He's looking, and his face is like a mix of terror and agony. That like sharp biting agony from the cold.
Right.
And he's naked, right? But you can't see anything.
That's why you
blew
it up.
Because a little scared turtle is hiding inside the bushes. You know what I'm saying here?
Jesus.
Nothing. You can't see anything at all. And so we blew this sucker up and gave it to him. I think that he threw it away. I don't know. Well, slightly humiliated.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah. It was stupid, and yet we did it every year. Nobody ever died. Nobody ever got frostbite. Nobody had a schmeckolectomy.
Shit, how many years now have they been doing the polar plunges all around the world?
Yeah, totally.
I mean,
the body can do it for short durations. It can do a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Although that's a whole different way, a take on the whole cold dipping therapy. Do it from 10,000 feet. It's funny because the naked jumps were still going strong when I first started jumping. In fact, I shot a bunch of videos for them and was on them and all that. But now the politically correct sexual harassment weird world and sexual harassment both directions and all that stuff, I don't know that we can do that stuff anymore. I mean, fuck.
I think we should just do it anyway.
Right.
You just make sure that you do everybody in the plane is naked, so nobody's got a finger to point. Usually you have the pilot naked. I don't know if you guys used to do that. That was pretty common because you're all imbalanced,
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I mean, I think you could probably be able to get away with it on the drop zones, but mean, in public nowadays, I mean, public nudity, you can get charged with like a proper crime nowadays.
Oh, yeah. And you'll never work in a school again because it's a crime.
Yeah, absolutely, which is just insane. True. Well, I did one of the few naked jumps that I ever did. We did naked night jumps, and I was out going solo and having my fun and taking my time and not paying any fucking attention to where we were or where I was. And so when I open up, I get the reach up, get the slider stowed as you'll do. It's just that's what you do. And then I start looking around for my landing area down, and then the circle gets larger and larger and larger until I realize that my landing area is a long ways away. And the only place that I can land with any lights is the parking lot of a supermarket, and it's like 9 o'clock at night. So, yeah. So here I go with my fucking Adidas on and nothing else, coming to a running stop in a zero wind. So the parachute falls behind me, of course, because why wouldn't it?
Of course it does, yeah.
Luckily, this is enough years ago, and it was in a town that was pretty low-key, so somebody just gave me a ride as I wrapped myself back up in the parachute. But fuck, nowadays I'd end up in jail for that shit.
You might. It's true. Yeah, we had the annual water jump into Chateauguay Lake, and we used to jump gutter gear, So you jump the rounds, whatever. And so we had a load of guys on T10s, all naked, and 2 of them missed the lake. One of them landed in a restaurant parking lot. I mean, very little option here.
Yeah.
And the other one landed up in the mountains. And we didn't see that dude for like 4 hours. He's wandering around in the Adirondacks, butt naked.
With a T10 as his only protection.
Yeah, that's all he had. That's all he had. But yeah, you can make a lot of survival gear out of a T10 if you have a knife.
Man, see, it's so funny because if you get a bunch of people that don't know anything about skydiving and tell them stories like this, they think we're insane. But if you tell a bunch of skydivers, especially people that have been doing it for a while, we're like, oh yeah, I can imagine that.
I did that. Yeah, I did that.
It seems to be this common thing.
World Freefall Convention, they used to do a lingerie jump, right?
Yeah.
The whole load
Yep.
would be, and all these big macho guys with tattoos wearing freaking pink lingerie.
Sure.
And they're standing around, just sort of waiting for the load. Of course, at Quincy, you don't have to wait very long. And this good old boy, he's got his lingerie on, he's shaking his head, and he goes to the guy next to him, "If I go in on this jump, my parents are never going to understand."
Right?
They just don't get it.
You do have to kind of factor that shit in, though, because I mean, I'm sure you're the same. There have been plenty of jumps that I've done that have just been absolutely bizarre, and you're thinking, how would you explain this to someone that doesn't understand?
You don't bother.
They're never going to get it. Like my last day flying for Ray Farrell at Skydance, I flew all day in a sundress and a halter top.
There you go.
Because why not? Fuck it. I mean, I discovered quite quickly that flying a PAC 750 in a skirt is amazing in the summertime because the air vent blows right up the skirt, keeps you nice and cool.
There you go.
It was fantastic.
I gotta try that one.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. If it hadn't been for the fact that it was too cold in Chicago, I probably would have flown all 4 seasons that I did there in a damn skirt.
In your sundress.
Yeah, why not?
With the little floral print.
Well, but again, with skydivers, after a while, they don't even look twice. I mean, fuck, I've been nicknamed the Princess for 25 years, and people don't think anything of it. You hear a non-skydiver hears my nickname, and they're like, why the fuck is that guy called Princess? But jumpers don't think twice about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
true.
Yeah.
It's true.
All right, well, I like it, man. I like the direction you're taking me.
I've got a lot of these kind of old. Well, the stuff that's happened over the past 10 years or more have been great. I'm having a wonderful time, but
sure.
I have to admit things were a little wilder and looser.
Sure.
20 years ago, 30 years ago, when a twin otter was a rarity, right? So, severe, like a very, very big deal if they were going to have a boogie, like the Bambi boogie. That was the first twin otter I'd ever seen. And the Bambi boogie was in upstate New York near Albany.
Okay.
Duanesburg. And it was a Wiggins Airways plane. It was just a cargo bird where they just pull the doors off. They didn't have any fancy jump door by Graham Meisey.
Right.
This was just a junker that would do the job. And so we all came down from Malone, New York, and we're all going to jump this big plane. And it's so fast. We couldn't believe how fast it climbed,
Right.
And I was just, I guess with a lot of small time jumpers, small town jumpers, you don't know what you can do in a crowd.
Right.
You don't know what you can't do in a crowd. Like, for instance, my favorite thing back then is I had probably 80 or 100 jumps. Our sliders didn't come all the way down back then. Right. You had the big hard links with the big bumpers that were tied down so they wouldn't slide up the lines and give you that crazy spinning malfunction. Yep. Right. So it was on there. And so you could put load on the slider. And so one of my favorite things to do was to do a bit of a chin up, roll over backwards 180, hook my feet up over the slider, and then I could scoot myself up onto the slider and sit on it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I just sit on my own slider. Yeah. Yeah. Which is not something you should do, in a crowd at a twin otter drop zone. A bunch of people jumping a twin otter who are used to 182s. Right. And so the other thing I like to do, which I got in a lot of trouble for at that boogie, I'll never forget it. I got yelled at big time. 19-year-old kid. I'd hang from my legs from the slider. I'd hook my feet up over there, and now I got my knees over the slider, and I'd let go of everything. So my hands are just hanging, just hanging upside down. And then I'd reach up and grab one steering toggle. And I just pull the toggle down towards my feet and spin that old rainbow cruise air. You can't have rainbow anymore unless you want to, make a statement.
Right.
I love my Rainbow Cruise Air. And just spin the canopy, and I spun right through the traffic, hanging upside down from my slider. Yeehaw! You know,
Ay, ay, ay. You know, it's fun.
it seemed like a good idea. At the
Right.
time.
I just had a good conversation with a longtime buddy of mine by the name of Derek Massey, and he and I have been jumping together for basically 25 years. And we were talking about a lot of the stupid shit that we had done over the years. But of course, you always have to throw that caveat out there about how long ago it was, because it's changed so much. But we kind of forget, if you've been in the sport for a while, chances are you were doing some shit that would be unacceptable these days. And it just, that's part of what made it fun. I mean, we did massive amounts of stupid shit, but we got lucky. We got away with it, you know? And I mean, there was a fair amount of luck back then because we were doing shit we didn't know we could do.
Yeah. Well, now I think there's a lot of stuff that still falls in that category, but there's a lot more skill involved, right?
Sure.
That you can do a rodeo wingsuit, you know?
Right.
This is crazy stuff. There's tube dives. You don't see that as much, but you know, there's so many things that people do on a regular basis. You see on the cover of Parachutist magazine,
Right.
you know, a canopy pilot standing on top of a wingsuiter's back. You know, this is insane.
Oh yeah.
But it requires skill.
Oh yeah.
There's an insane, you know, there's a kind of insane where, you know, I'm thinking about a whole bunch of these dumb things that we used to do that required no skill. It just required balls.
Right. The one that jumps out of my head is watching my buddy Kevin Love at the time try and shimmy down a rope that was tied to the back of a Cessna. And I'm like, that's not gonna work. He had this idea of, you know, surfing behind it, and of course he made it 1 or 2 knots down before he was gone. But I mean,
he fell off.
Oh yeah,
I like Kevin. He's a good guy.
Oh yeah, Kevin was fantastic. So next level stupid, but this is, again, it didn't take skill; it just take balls, you know. But I just saw a video not that long ago of, I think it was a 3-time transfer. One from it was a Mr. Bill to transferred to a wingsuit, and then transferred from that wingsuit to another canopy, all on the same jump.
Nice.
Yeah.
You can't do that if you're just a ballsy moron.
No, that's some skill.
This requires planning and skill and everything else, and hats off to him. Right.
Yes.
It didn't take a whole lot of skill for Dick Swanson to jump a 64-foot cargo chute that he bought military surplus and had to use a belly mount reserve as the pilot chute.
Are you serious?
That shit was so heavy. It took like 4 of us to get it out to the 206. You know, get it up on. This wasn't a cargo 206. Maybe that's a good thing,
right?
To keep the CG, you know, kind of under the wings. But yeah, we managed. Couldn't close the door. You know, so can you imagine the takeoff? You got parachutes hanging out of your plane. They had no idea if it was going to work.
Oh yeah.
But he just managed, and he just kind of rolled over backwards with his mini risers attached to the bigger risers somehow, and in this 24 flat circular belly mount that was on a static line. And so, you know, of course, you got long lines, right? Really long lines on a cargo chute. So basically, the parachute opened, and he kept falling until he got to the end of the lines. And then, just really whacked him hard.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, his descent rate was very slow. He almost hit the hangar. I mean, really almost hit the hangar because he couldn't steer it. And then he stood up his landing, and everybody said, "Wow, that was amazing!" And so Johnny Bear from Quebec, he walks up to him, and he says, "So was it fun?" And Dick's rubbing his neck, you know. He's like, kind of looking with his head forward. He's rubbing his neck. And he goes, "Oh yeah, it was fun. Should I do it?" "Oh yeah." As he continued to rub his neck, Johnny Bear, they packed it up again. He went up and did it. Wham! You know, whack a hard opening, and he comes walking in, rubbing his neck. He goes, "Dick, it opened really hard." And Dick's still rubbing his neck. Yeah.
Fucking hell. Well,
true stories.
Oh man. Well, so that's another thing that's changed a lot too, right? Is the shit that we get away with, or used to get away with the aircraft. None of that shit happens anymore.
No.
None of that. But you tell those stories, and I know a lot of the stories. I've been involved in some of the stories, and of course, knowing older jumpers that have seen some craziness with the aircraft. But you gotta, I mean, you almost don't want to tell the stories and give people bad ideas, but you don't want to tell the stories sometimes because you sound like an asshole. You guys did.
Yeah, we
what?
threw a bowling ball out of the Cessna, you know.
Well, I'm sure you've probably heard the pumpkin story out of CSC years and years ago. They
I don't know if I heard
decided
that
to do a
specifically. We did
fucking
too.
they decided to do a pumpkin jump. So they jumped out with this pumpkin and they're throwing it around, and the guy that was tasked with catching the pumpkin dropped it, and it went through somebody's roof and destroyed the kitchen of the house. Like, those jumpers went to jail for that shit.
Yes,
Oof.
I do. Yeah, I remember that one.
That was a big story.
Yeah, you got to have a big airport. I mean, it's surprising because Hinckley had a lot of space.
Yeah.
But bad luck with the spotting.
They hit the house.
But,
Yep. Go figure.
Yeah. In Milan, we had more of that space. We had a big triangle airport, just all that room. And so we used to drop all kinds of stuff back in the days. And yes, we did drop a bowling ball. And the earth swallowed it up and closed up after. The hole was gone. It just swallowed it up.
That's fantastic.
It's still there underground somewhere.
Well, I remember when they started doing the space ball jumps, you had to get clearance to do the jump and all that stuff because, that shit'll kill somebody if you're not careful.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. 1.55 pounds of lead. But, I never lost one. But I also always did it over the swamp or something like that.
Sure.
And I have to admit, when you get down, below 7,000 feet and you decide to do one more release or one more toss to the other guy, there's definitely this, feeling of tension if I don't get that ball back. And it's kind of vibrating, it's a little tricky to grab the sucker, two hands.
For sure. Man, oh man. So looking back, most of the time you have the fucked up ones that you're like, all right, I wish that hadn't happened, but that was a really good learning experience. But you must have one where you're like, no, I just wish that hadn't happened.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I can remember Titus Mountain demo. There was, and I think it was winter. I can't even remember, to be honest with you. And so we're doing this demo into a ski area, into the base lodge. And there's, a crowd, the whole thing.
Sure. But
it was windy. It was too windy to be jumping at all, even at the drop zone. And we're jumping in the mountains. In the northern Adirondacks, this is like the kind of north of Lake Placid and, White Mountain and all that, Whiteface, I should say. And it was blowing from the summit down to the base lodge. Think about that.
Yeah, that's not
so
good.
That means that you're in the lee. The landing area is in the lee, not of trees, not of buildings, but of a whole frickin' mountain. It was insane. And it was windy enough that we had to spot over the summit, face into the wind, and we just backed up down the mountain. And there's no time to think this is crazy, this is stupid. You're out of the plane. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, too late.
You can't get back in. And so now it's just looking over your shoulder, a little bit of right to, speed up your, drift down the hill, and then you face into the wind for a moment, and then you a little bit of left, and you drift back down the mountain.
Right.
And somehow, despite the fact that I think Doug Park's canopy collapsed and then recovered, there was some other, collapses. I just called him out.
Right.
He was there. But we all hit it. We all landed in the right location, and nobody ate it. Nobody got hurt. And the only lesson is we're lucky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're short on judgment and long on luck. And I'd like to not be in that situation again.
Those are the ones that you look back on and regret, right? When you know it was luck that's got you through.
I would have stayed in the plane.
Yeah.
If I knew it was going to be like that.
Yeah.
But there's this momentum of like, the crowd's waiting. I said I was going to do it, so I got to follow my word.
Right.
When all we had to do was just do a low pass over the landing area, waggle our wings.
Right.
And, and just leave.
And yeah. Sorry, guys. That's it. We're done.
Yeah. Shouldn't have done it.
I mean, I've had a few of those where you're like, wait a second, it wasn't skill that got me through. Certainly wasn't good decisions that got me through. It was just flat out fucking luck. I think those are the ones I look back on and go,
regret.
Yeah. And
it is nice though. There was some skill, right? I mean, every time we survived through sketchiness, there was some element of skill.
Sure.
But it was like 50-50.
Sure. Right. Not great odds.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing too. As soon as you let go of the airplane, you suffer from what my buddy Mark Norman always used to say: if you hadn't ate it, it wouldn't have made you sick.
Yeah.
You swallowed that shit, man. You better choke it down. It's because you got to deal with
Keep
this
on
shit.
Going.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't spit a skydive back into a napkin once you're out of the plane.
No. No. I don't think, looking back, I don't think I was ever on a skydive wishing that I wasn't there, but I was certainly on a skydive shitting my pants and then wishing I wasn't there later on.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Well, there's no room for regret. You're just, trying to be creative in how you're going to not die.
Right. Well, that's the thing that always kind of cracks me up is, of course, the common thing that everybody says if somebody dies doing something that they do all the time. Oh, he died doing something he loved. Well, on a skydive, that means I'm dying, freaking out, trying to do everything that I possibly can and not fucking die. That's how I died. So no, I was doing what I loved right before it all went to shit.
I'd rather not. You know what I mean? I want to die peacefully in my bed, or a moment of orgasm when I'm 95 years old or something. You know what I mean? So that I'm not a mark on the sport. You know what I mean? I don't want to die skydiving. I don't even want to die on the drop zone.
No.
Okay, maybe in a trailer. You know what I mean? When I'm an old dude that was partying too hard and his girl got the heart up too high. But
sure.
I think there's something selfish about it. So when people just take risks to the point where they can't control the outcome, so don't do that. But there also is this other side of it where if you're so careful that you don't expand, if you're not being creative and you're not moving forward into, how many skydivers have actually be able to say they've done something that no skydiver has ever done?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Very few.
Right?
Very, very few.
And so is there space within your skydiving skill set where you could do something that nobody's done before, even if it's just jumping into a place that nobody's jumped into before? I love doing that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you bring that up because there's I have a great example of doing the exact same thing and me hating one version and loving the other. And that's jumping out of an airplane without a rig on. So the first time I saw that, it was Pastrana doing it, and I fucking hated every second of it because I watched this video, and he clearly just was going balls out. I mean, I remember watching the discussion about it after the fact, and the backflip that he did was totally unplanned, and I hated it because he was putting his friends in a position to not be able to catch him, and they're going to have to live with that for the rest of their lives. So I hated that one. But then Luke goes and does it, and I loved it because it took an intense amount of training and all this planning and all these different things that they did. So it was a completely different thing, and he fucking never used a parachute. So it really was. It was taking that skill to another level instead of just throwing your balls into the wind and seeing what happens. Yeah.
There's definitely a difference between stupidity and a stunt. I did it when he was training for that. I was teaching a canopy course out there at Capouse, and he had his lights set up. He was training. He was pulling low with the base canopy and a skydiving rig. He had permission, to burn it down. And although I didn't, I was taking it down as much as I felt comfortable to try to stay over those lights. It's like a Vazzy or a Pappy, where you're just you can tell if you've drifted and there's wind, which means you have to actually move, and you might not have time to turn and move forward to where you want to go. So you got to get good at side sliding and backsliding and all that. It was hard.
I bet.
It was really, really hard. So when I watched it live, I felt like I got even more adrenaline
because you knew
than everybody else. You know what I mean? Because I could see it, I could feel, how those little corrections were the difference between life and death.
Sure. Yeah, right? Absolutely.
I just splatting in front of the whole crowd, in front of his family.
I'll tell you what, that's the only part that I had a difficult time swallowing was the fact that shit was going out live. And I'm sure that they had the big red button just in case with a 10-second delay or something. But
there's no live anymore. It's live-ish.
Yeah, live-ish. But can you imagine? It's the big countdown. He's almost to the net, and then it goes to the little kitten on the screen because that fucking guy's gone.
Yeah.
So there was. I actually didn't watch it live. I watched it in a recording afterwards once I knew he'd made it because for some reason I've turned a little wishy-washy in my old age, and I'm like, I don't want to fucking watch this.
I was shitting myself. It's one thing if it's a guy you don't know, but he's my friend.
Sure.
And so it was definitely really terrifying. It was completely ballsy, and probably nobody's ever going to try to do that one again.
Why would they? He did it.
That box is checked. It's done.
That's it.
So now what? Now what could we do?
Yeah.
That's novel and exciting and worth doing.
There's no way I could have sat there and watched that live. No way. I can't even go out. Maybe it's because I don't jump for work anymore, but I can't even watch my friends fucking land their canopies most days because it went from the velos that were up, a ways, and now everybody's on Petras and all this other craziness, and holy shit, just lights my hair on fire. I don't even want. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I've gotten old and mellow. I don't know what's happened.
Well, there's definitely there's fear for oneself, and there's vicarious fear.
Sure.
Right. I mean, we're working up on the roof. And Laura's up there when she's walking on the tarp, which is now super slippery.
Right.
And I know that where she went, she's got slack in the rope, like enough to really fall a long distance, 20 feet up off the ground. And I watched her 2 days ago slip on the edge of the roof, like. There's no railing, right. And I watched her slip and then go to her, and she was like, yeah, whatever, no big deal. And I'm just losing. It took me like 10 minutes to get over the adrenaline of the vicarious fear. You know what I mean? Because if it was me, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. I'm not dead, so let's move on.
Sure. Well,
so I think there's definitely an aspect to that.
And I don't know about you, but anytime something like that happens to me, my initial reaction is to be embarrassed and pissed, not scared.
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
Did somebody see me? Because fuck, man, I can't believe I almost did that. And you're embarrassed and you're not scared.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody else, then you're freaking out for them.
It's a very common dream that Scott Evers' dream that they went in with no parachute and they look around, nobody saw them. So they pull their parachute out and put it over the shoulder so that it looks like they didn't go in. Right. That's the shame aspect of screwing up.
Right.
Well, as an instructor, I find that the fear that is vicarious, from the outside perspective, that's where I get my fear juice mostly. I mean, I do put myself in some risks, test jumping and doing in hops and mountain flying, but I'm in control of what happens. But when I watch a student go out on out of an airplane,
yes.
I remember the guy, Jim, his name was Big Jim. He tumbled out of control on a static line. We tried using a Seneca. It's a bad airplane for a static line. And so because they couldn't get good exits, he flipped around. He's hanging upside down from his feet with his feet tangled in the risers. And I don't know how tangled they were, but I had a feeling that this spiraling parachute was something he wasn't going to be able to cut away. You know? And I'm looking out of the door of the airplane. I got 4 more students waiting to go, first jump students. He was first out. The big guy, had to put him near the door.
Sure.
And he's spiraling and spiraling and spiraling, and he's getting lower and lower, and somehow he managed to kick himself out of it, but nobody can see but me.
Right.
And I'm like trying to keep my shit and keep my face, sort of stoic, so I'm not sharing the fear because I'm going to screw up their skydive too, or all these other guys. And finally he kicked out of it. And he's hanging under the parachute. He's flying straight. I'm like, oh, thank God. All right, who's next? Put on the smile.
Right. Man, oh man, I'll tell you what, it's that risk versus reward when it comes to students that actually eventually push me out of doing AFF, because I loved doing AFF with successful students, whether they were difficult students or not, but the ones that scared you, scarred you. I mean, there is... Oh my fucking God, man. There is nothing that affects you, an AFF instructor, that actually gives a shit more than watching one of your students pile drive themselves in or do something really scary and just barely get away with it. And I finally, after a bunch of years doing that, I just no, I'm good. That's it.
Yeah, I still love it. I admit it, I still love it. I love it. I don't get to do as much as I'd like to.
Sure.
But I absolutely love it. But the part in free fall, I feel like I can manhandle. You know what I mean? I could pull for them. I've done it. I've got lots of stories about that one, flipping them back over, stopping them from spinning. That's fun. You get to be superhero, right?
Sure.
But once the canopy opens for them, you don't know, right? So they'll be like, oh, here's a yellow thing. Grab that, pull it. Oh, that's my RSL. Wait, why is my reserve coming out?
Yep. Yep.
We had a guy, I'm not going to say where it was, but far away from here, who was doing his first jump, and he reached back. They said, oh, the toggles are on the back of the risers. He remembered that.
Right.
And in the plane, he was all worried. When do I see my toggles? I can't see my toggles. No, you won't see your toggles until the parachute opens. He was really worried about steering his parachute. And this guy was
Right.
easily 7 feet tall. Big dude. Big dude. I'm not exaggerating. Easily 7 feet tall. And he got open, couldn't see his toggles, couldn't figure it out, reached back, grabbed his reserve risers, pulled them out until he found the reserve toggles, unstowed his reserve toggles, and tried to steer, which didn't work very well. Right? Didn't turn the parachute at all, and he landed way the hell off the drop zone, probably feeling a tad bit of shame.
Sure. I'll tell you what, though, you got to give him credit for ingenuity.
Yeah, that's a first.
Yeah. I mean, AFF provided a fair amount of entertainment, and I've only got one fun story on AFF, and it wasn't the students that screwed up. It was actually the instructor that kind of wasn't thinking. The jump had gone good for all the AFFs, and we had one instructor on the ground that was doing radios. It was just easier. And he would call out instructions by color canopy, so they knew what to listen for, red, blue, whatever it was. And one of the canopies clearly had an issue going on. I don't know if it was a line over or something like that. And what the instructor should have said with the three students in the air was, blue canopy, check your canopy. What he said was, cut away.
Oh, yeah, bad idea.
So you know exactly what happened. Chink, chink,
Everybody.
chink, boom, boom, boom. And, of course, all of us are diving for the radio until he's finally said it, and they were like, all right, let's see what happens. And, of course, they all cut away. And what did we do wrong? No, you guys were perfect, but that guy is going to be paying for a whole bunch of reserve pack jobs.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I don't think it's good to say cut away to anybody.
No.
I think it's best to just say, if your parachute is not steerable and flareable, if it doesn't look right, you know what to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll do it. That'll tell the story. Yeah.
That was the, I remember hearing him
I wish I could say that was the only time. Yeah, that's happened more than once.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can imagine. Well, and he was a newer AFF instructor, and it freaked him out. And I can understand. I mean, being an AFF instructor is a very unique thing. There's a whole lot of pressure, and to get it right. And as soon as, again, if you're really in tune with your students and something's going wrong, you feel it. So you have to fight that fear just as much then as if it was you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And there's so many permutations. There's so many things that you have to anticipate and know how to train around them so they don't happen.
Right.
I think that's a big part of it, right? You can be a badass body pilot and be able to get there and stop them from spinning and all that stuff. But if you train better, then you're in fewer of those situations. You're not going to make it zero, though.
Well, and to make a good AFF instructor, or even a good tandem instructor for that matter, you don't just have to be a good body pilot yourself and a good canopy pilot and all that stuff. You've got to be an amateur psychologist. You've got to figure out what's going to make this student learn the way that you need them to, what's going to get them to react the way that you want them to. And that's a skill that really gets undersold with instructors. A really good instructor is a fucking marriage counselor times 10.
Yeah, it's the guy that's on the radio or the loudspeaker talking to the guy that's on the ledge.
Yeah,
trying to talk him back into the window.
Yeah,
right? It's so you're you've got all these hats that you're wearing in this same moment, and your demeanor and the way that you speak, the way you move, is very significant. And things will change based on how you play those cards.
For sure. Well, and it's not even anything personal or a detriment to other AFF instructors if they don't work well with a particular student. I had my AFF instructor was a guy by the name of Bruce Henderson, and I just clicked with this guy. I instantly felt comfortable. He told me something. I just assumed that was right. And I did one AFF jump with another instructor who was a fantastic instructor, and I was shitting myself the entire time because we just didn't have that vibe. So
yeah,
I mean, you got to have that. I hate to use the word chemistry, but you do have to have that as well as, being able to check all the boxes and figure out what makes that student tick. So it's quite the job, man.
Oh yeah, it is. It forces you to dig deeper.
Yeah.
It's like it really comes down to me right now.
Yep. Well, and I think that's why I fell back on tandems and when I stopped doing AFF, because I got a lot of the reward that I did out of AFF by, still having to play that game and still having to take care of the student. But ultimately it was up to me, and I knew what I was doing.
Sure.
So it made it a little bit easier to cope with.
Oh yeah, I mean, you get little old ladies that'll grab your hands and you can't pull. I mean, I had this one. She was like 4 foot something, and about 3 foot wide. She was a little thing, but round, and she was strong. She didn't. She looked like she would bake a nice pie. You know what I mean?
Right.
But when she was in free fall, I just gently put my hands on top of her hands. Just kind of being nurturing and loving. And I was like, all right, let's do a 360. And I, pushed one hand down, the other one up. We did the 360 and stopped. And then she didn't want to let go. I was like, oh, that's fine. Isn't that sweet?
Right.
I'm holding hands with a little old lady. And then it came time to actually, get some nylon out. And I couldn't get my hands away. I tried and tried and tried. And she had this death grip on me. This teeny little old lady, shaking. I almost had to headbutt her or bite her on the neck.
Yeah.
Almost. I got him out.
Well, I remember getting my rating. I got my rating on the old Vectors that had the ball for the RSL. And my instructor was like, and if they've got your hands and you just can't get away, you might want to figure out how to pull that thing with your teeth. And he showed me. He's like, you can do it. I mean, holy
with
shit.
Your teeth.
With his teeth,
That'd
yeah.
Be a talent.
He reached over and he got the thing on his shoulder and was able to pull it far enough with his teeth. And I'm like, if that's what I got to do, I don't know that this is for me.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm familiar with the idea of popping the RSL to get the reserve out, but with your teeth, huh?
Yeah, definitely not something that I ever wanted to try.
No. So it's amazing what we can do when we're scared. Right?
Oh yeah, well, when you're scared but clear-headed, and I think you and I talked about it on the previous one. There's a big difference between being scared and being panicked.
Yes,
panic you can't do a fucking thing with. Fear is wonderful. Yeah. Fear is the reason I'm still sitting here today. Panic is a whole different thing.
Here's what I'm gonna add to that. I would say how you responded to fear is how you survived. Right. But it wasn't, I think, the fear itself, because that's like raw energy, like gasoline. You can throw gasoline on the hood of the car and light it on fire. You're not going anywhere.
Right.
So are you putting it to good use? That's the question. It's potential energy.
Sure. Absolutely.
And the kinetic aspect is going to be very, very much based on how you channel it. Do you filter it? Do you put it through the engine of your mind? And do the right thing, not just anything, not just the thing that pops in your head.
Absolutely. Well, and again, for any non-skydivers that are listening, that's one of the biggest values you can get out of taking up an activity like this is learning how to channel that fear in the right direction so that it's useful.
And you stay positive.
Yeah.
Right? You don't go into tuck and brace for impact.
No,
because as soon as you do that, nobody's flying the airplane anymore.
Oh yeah, that's it. Well,
you stay out.
We flew through a fucking hour like that. I can't believe we burned through an hour. And what that brings to mind,
I didn't tell half the stories.
which is why I'm about to say the next thing, which is I want you to start giving me story time so I can start airing some of your stories on the ass end of my podcast.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because, I mean, you and I could probably fill up a dozen fucking podcasts on our own, but I would love it if you would, and I'm sure everybody else would too, if you just start picking some of these great stories and laying them down so I can put them out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it might even help me to write the book I've been dreaming of doing for years, which is something like, no shit, there I was.
Hell
Thought
yeah.
I was going to die kind of a book. It would be fun. It would be fun because I notice, you probably notice it too, when you've been doing something like this for so long, you don't remember what you know.
Right.
Until somebody gets you talking.
Right.
And, sort of pokes you with good questions that lead you into, and then it segues one story to the next. Man, I think that could be a lot of fun. I'd love to do that.
Awesome. Well, then off mic, we're absolutely going to talk about that. But in the meantime, I want you to tell everybody, how do they find out about you? How do they find out about courses and canopies and all that craziness?
Yeah, man. Well, my primary website, the one we actually update, is called adventurewisdom.com. No weird spelling, just normal. And that one has like all the training videos. I got 30 something hours of lecture. I mean, it's not just eye candy.
Sure.
I throw the eye candy on YouTube. There's 500 and something videos there. But
nice.
This was like my most recent one, like is DZ Unknown. You're going to land off the drop zone. either planned or unplanned, and we talk about all that stuff. And I do, VR simulations where we land off at different locations, all that. It really gets into a lot of depth. It's the stuff that I want my sons to have access to as a library.
Sure.
To be able to be a safe skydiver, to make that transition from non-skydiver to comfortable with whatever shows up.
Sure.
And so, I made tests that they can take to see if they understand the information. There's books and all that stuff. So it's all there. And I do canopy courses on the weekends.
Awesome.
Took a little COVID break like everybody else, but I'm back in action now and it feels awesome.
Awesome.
So there's a lot of that stuff. And just if you visit the website, I think that'll give you enough of an idea. And I do one-on-one sessions too. So if you want to book that stuff, that's going to do as soon as we're done here.
Dude,
I've got a couple of those.
Well, fantastic.
Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's knowledge that they want, sometimes it's non-skydiving related stuff.
Sure.
I don't care. Whatever you want, I'm here for you.
Oh, dude, that's fantastic. Well, I mean, for everybody listening, go check it out and then be listening in for, let's do some story time with Brian.
Yeah, man.
Sounds fantastic.
That sounds awesome.
Brother, thank you so much. I as always, appreciate the time and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, of course. I'm not surprised at all. That was great.
All right, man. Take it easy. And there you go. Another episode of Lunatic Fringe, Into the Void in the Can, brought to you as always by, say it with me, fuck yeah, NZ Aerosports. Check them out. Also brought to you by Pussfoot.com, Pussfoot.com, the Extreme Sports Collective, and Summit Parachute Systems. Jarrett Martin building badass pilot rigs, giving amazing rigging courses. SummitParachuteSystems.com. As for me, I am the fucking pilot. You find me at thefuckingpilot.net or theprincesspilot.com goes to the same place. That's where you get links to all the podcasts and both the books. All right, see you next time.
Damn.